Well, 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 we finally get around to listening to Snedmeister's video. Great White Stoke coming at you from the great green north, the land of the midnight sun. It's actually starting to look pretty decent up here. We're getting some sunshine today. So, 2 points that Snedmeister brings up today is the whole Epstein saga and then the aliens, the Atlians. Let's begin with the whole Epstein saga. I think it's very, very interesting that all the cameras go offline and then a guy supposedly being the pimp for the political elite, having a bona fide island to service the elite with underage girls. I think it's very interesting that he winds up dead and then they call this a suicide. Even his brother came forward and was like, he didn't kill himself. And believe it or not, Epstein has been in the spotlight for a while. I recall in the early 2000s reading a GQ article about these Lolita flights. In fact, he had some girl that was his concubine that he put through pilot school, some Russian, Ukrainian, Eastern European girl who's been curiously absent from this whole saga. And you have to consider that, does our government have intelligence agencies that engage in wet work cleanups? Yes, most notably the CIA. Does our government engage in coups where leaders are deposed of? Yes, they do. We have a sophisticated machine operating, and it has lulled Americans to sleep thinking that it's operating for their best interest. It's out there protecting them. But I'll be honest, after driving through the Alcan last year and being without a solid internet connection or the availability of news, once I got through that week and then was able to interface with the internet and the news, it dawned on me that, the Russians have Russia. The Chinese have the heavy-handed China government above them. And Americans have the American government. And what do they all have in common? They're nothing but propaganda machines who are all pointing the finger away from themselves and saying, those people are the enemy. Those people are bad. Because again, this is a narcissistically abusive system. Because God forbid these higher echelon people actually look in the mirror and ask themselves, is what I'm doing the right thing to do? They don't ever question themselves. The same thing with these higher echelon government employees. They have wrapped their identities in being these government employees, and they're being told every day by their higher ups that they're really heroes and that they're doing the right thing. And these lower level people, the peasants, the serfs, they need to be brought to justice. Meanwhile, you have so much rampant corruption going on. It's funny. Did Epstein kill himself? No. Was he silenced? Yes. Do we have a government that silences whistleblowers? Yes. If not through pressure, then through killing them. And it happens every day. Every time there's a high-level whistleblower, they get silenced, either by pressure, bringing forth something that they can leverage against them, or by making them disappear. Now, moving on to the whole alien subject. You bring up very good points. We're just a pale blue dot swimming in a sea of vast emptiness. Why would they take an interest in us? Well, if we're going with the extraterrestrial assumption, these civilizations have been around for quite a while, longer than us. And perhaps that they have developed instrumentation to visit other worlds that have civilization. However, it's becoming increasingly clear, especially when you consider quantum relativity, quantum gravity, the existence of higher dimensions, that what we are dealing with is intra or interdimensional beings that are here amongst us, but our rudimentary senses can't detect them, and they pop in and out of our dimensions. Why that is, I have no idea. However, I was just reading a news article about how some people are saying that UFO hotspots might be where these civilizations are residing. Similar to Galt's Gulch. In the book Atlas Shrugged, John Galt has created a refuge for all of the people going on strike that use these high-powered holographic images to portray, I believe, a picture of impassable mountains. And it's only once you like fly into the mountains that you realize it's all a projection, yada, yada, yada. And this is where they're all living. Also, I have a personal experience witnessing some very interesting craft up close. And we're not talking about lights in the sky. We're talking about a slow moving giant triangle outside of the Lawrence Livermore Labs. And this was about 20 years ago. It was a giant triangle craft. I was able to intercept it twice on this dogleg road that was gaining in elevation. And due to the brightness of the moon, I was able to get a pretty good look at this craft. And this thing was moving way slower than traditional aircraft, slower than Bernoulli's principle could work with. I mean, I was able to catch it with a car going no less than 45 miles an hour. It had a central mounted cockpit with 3 dark windows surrounding this circular cockpit in the center of this triangle. Some people say that this is the TR-3B. This craft has been seen at least since the late 70s. Intercepted it twice. It was moving north. Who are you going to call? 911? 911? They're just going to think you're drunk or on some type of substance. But it does lead me to a hypothesis that perhaps somebody has technology that is far beyond us, and perhaps the government has gotten a hold of this technology, and a breakaway civilization has occurred, in that terrestrial people, human beings, are already traveling the cosmos, maybe even intradimensionally. Because you have to consider, we're talking about like high-tech aircraft. You know, the SR-71 was built in the 50s, 60s, and we learned about its existence shortly thereafter. Same thing with the Stealth. Here we are going on 20 years now from when I've witnessed this craft, and no one has copped to its existence. And this technology would be a game changer if we really were to go to war. So that's my perspective on that. You know, we're in interesting times. The world is going to shit. And I've realized in California, they call them Democrats. In Alaska, they call them Republicans. Politically, everything is in the shit can. We have no agency. Voting really doesn't matter. And truly, happiness starts on the inside and flows outward. So the best thing you can do is enjoy the downward spiral. Enjoy the ride. Eat the best food that you can. Get lots of nookie. Focus on yourself. Focus on your loved ones. Engage in activities that are healthy for the mind, body, and spirit. Because we're all going to wind up in a pine box or in some crematorium and then scattered like dust in the wind. So this is where we are. Sned, we always look forward to your videos and your dapper English accent. So post more. We'll talk to you later. Arrivederci, adios, au revoir. Hugs and kisses. Besos y abrazos.